What is up, guys? J'espère que vous allez bien, que vous êtes en pleine forme. Bienvenue sur le podcast Conversation Awesome avec Kaitlin. A place where we speak Franglish, say the word awesome a lot, mais surtout un endroit d'inspiration et d'éducation pour vous aider à optimiser votre santé globale from the inside out. Mon nom est Claudia, fondatrice de Kaitlin, et ma mission avec ce podcast est de t'amener dans un monde de développement personnel, d'optimisation d'habitudes de vie et de découverte so you can unleash your potential and live the life you truly want and deserve. Merci d'être à l'écoute. You're awesome. I have a beautiful, inspiring guest for you today, ladies. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time, bienvenue, c'est ici à chaque semaine. Today the conversation's in English because I'm sitting with Coach Kaitlin, who's a body image mindset coach, a best-selling author, public speaker, and just an amazing, beautiful woman inside and out. She went through her own journey of losing 100 pounds, but it's the woman that she became through this transformation that makes her so amazing, so awesome, and so inspiring. Now she helps clients do the same through a very body positive or body neutral, she would explain that to us during the conversation, but a very holistic approach focusing on self-confidence and loving your body and taking care of yourself and really going on a journey for healing and from the inside out. Donc, aujourd'hui, je m'assois avec Coach Kaitlin, qui est une coach super inspirante, qui a passé à travers sa propre transformation de perte de poids de 100 livres, mais c'est surtout la femme qu'elle est devenue, en fait, à travers cette transformation-là, qui fait d'elle aujourd'hui une femme et une coach super inspirante qui peut aider ses clientes à faire la même chose à travers un processus d'amour-propre, de confiance en soi, d'accepter, d'aimer son corps et tout ce qui vient avec. As always, if you have any feedback for us, any questions, please let us know. Go follow Kaitlin on social. J'ai mis tous les liens là, dans la description du podcast. Elle a aussi un webinaire, elle nous en parle à la fin de l'épisode, complètement gratuit, qui s'en vient dans quelques semaines. So go sign up for that and share this with a friend. Partagez cet épisode-là avec quelqu'un, avec une autre femme qui pourrait bénéficier d'entendre un discours qui fait du bien. Surtout à ce temps-ci de l'année, it's the beginning of the year, it's time for like the resolutions, and I know you ladies want to maybe lose weight or get back into shape or get back into optimal habits after the holidays. So let's do it differently this year. Hein? Faisons-le de façon différente avec une approche qui va durer sur le long terme et qui est fait dans le self-love. So Kaitlin and I are chatting about all of that in the conversation. Alors, sans plus tarder, je vous laisse à notre conversation. Awesome! Happy listening! I'm excited for this conversation. Welcome, Kaitlin, to the show.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you so much for having me. I know we've been talking for a little bit, and I'm very excited to finally have an opportunity to be here with you and talk to your network of listeners.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I found out about you through Sarah, who's been on the podcast twice before, who's also a great friend of mine. She had you on her show to talk about a topic that I was like, oh my God, I was listening to you and I was like, all of my clients and all of my listeners, they need to hear this. So again, thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have to say, I'm actually excited to be speaking with someone that's so close to home. A lot of the podcasts, and bless Sarah's heart, I absolutely adore her, but a lot of the podcasts I've been on have been in other parts of North America. So I'm excited to talk to people in my own backyard and get to share my story locally for once.
Yeah, amazing. So let's talk about your story. I always like to give the listeners a bit of like, you know, a background story on like, how did you get here? Like what brought you to coaching and helping women with their self-esteem and their confidence and their love for their bodies? You went through a hell of a transformation yourself, which we'll dive more into that. But who is Kaitlin and who was Kaitlin before she became this coach?
Yeah, that transformation is pretty huge. And that's what brought me here. Sorry, my throat's a little scratchy today. Okay. So we'll go back down memory lane. I'll try and make this as quick as I can. But growing up, I was always that child who didn't have that ideal aesthetic, that perfect body, that appearance that society said I should have. Mm-hmm. So for example, as you can see, I have red hair. That's natural. That wasn't very accepted and appreciated by the kids, right? I stood out for that and was made fun of for that. So kid, I've always been chubby. So I was the fat kid. I had the red hair. I had crooked teeth. I had the braces and headgear. I had the glasses. And that was before these things were cool and trending and part of a positive appearance, right? So I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. And because there was nobody in society or the media or anyone famous who looked like me or anyone who had succeeded that looked like me that had ever accomplished something big, I felt like I didn't have that. And so I kind of shut down and closed in on myself and didn't know where to go. And I never found my confidence because, like I say, I just felt like I didn't belong. I couldn't fit in. I wasn't what society wanted. And as a result, I convinced myself I was an introvert. As I grew up, I wouldn't join social clubs. I was always the one picked last for sports. So I never joined sporting teams. I preferred to be by myself because I was safe. It was a secure space for me. Mm-hmm. And I ended up turning to food. And I later found out that I had an addiction to food, but didn't know that at the time, right? So throughout my adolescence, into my late teenage years, early 20s, mid 20s, food became my happy place. And so I was eating all the time, that binge eating, secretly eating. And the next thing I knew, I turned 29 and I suddenly weighed over 250 pounds. And though I had always been chubby, been the fat girl, I had never been this big. I had always been curvaceous between a size 14 to a size 18, but I had never been in a size 2X, and I was now encroaching on a size 3X, and I didn't know what to do anymore. I had just felt so low about myself and where I had gone, and I didn't know what to do. So I kept eating. And so at this time, one of my favorite shows was My 600-Pound Life on TLC. I'm sure you've heard of that one, especially being in your industry. And that was my favorite show at the time. And one of the reasons I liked it, sadly, ironically enough, is because it made me feel good about myself because I wasn't yet 600 pounds. I still felt skinny and that I had a decent body in comparison to some of these people on the show. And it's shameful to say that, but that was my mindset at the time. So I would sit there every week when a new episode would drop. I would sit in bed with all my snacks around me because I couldn't do anything without food and alcohol even. And so one night I was watching My 600-Pound Life and I had this epiphany, and it was my pivotal aha moment. And in that moment, I thought two things. The first thing I thought was that I was going to die because I've treated myself so poorly by fueling it with toxic foods and things that were bad for me instead of good things. Or two, I was going to wind up being featured on an episode of My 600-Pound Life. And then how would I feel? Look at me watching the show, essentially making fun of the people or comparing myself to the people. Now I was going to be on the show. And I was like, Kaitlin, you're 29 years old. Neither of these options is acceptable. What are you doing with your life? And so with that, I ended up going to talk to someone because I didn't know what to do. I knew I needed a change. That was clear, but I had no idea how to go from that thought to step B, which was any action step. What do I do to get out of this? So I went and started talking to someone. I just shared my thoughts and emotions, talked about my childhood, how I always felt about my appearance, and how I had no confidence. I would give up on things all the time, how I had turned inward. And it turned out that my biggest issue wasn't my body itself, and it wasn't the food. That was all a result of me feeling so bad about myself inside because I felt like nobody on the outside believed in me or accepted me, that I couldn't believe in myself or accept myself. And so because I chose to believe all the opinions that were happening on the outside, I gave up on Kaitlin, and that little girl that I used to be, I no longer loved her. And so that came with me into adulthood. But I was using the food to replace that sad emotion, right? Because I wasn't loving myself, or I wasn't happy with myself, and I wasn't happy with where my life had become. Food was what made me happy. But because eating happens so quickly, right? I mean, it takes longer to make a meal than it does to eat a meal. And so when you're eating, it's kind of that having something in your mouth, like the flavor and just the hand to mouth action, right? So you're constantly putting stuff in your mouth to keep yourself happy. And so that was a result of how I felt inside. And so once I learned that, that was the biggest aha moment that led to my transformation and brought me to where I am today, because that just spiraled and ricocheted into all these positive things. So I took that knowledge and I started looking at all the things I didn't believe in myself and started to create statements of all the things that I knew to be true about myself. What were all the good things about me? And with that, made a vision board. I took all the desires and dreams that I had in my head, and I was like, what do I want from this point forward? Mm-hmm. And so it all I felt really good about it, but it was all kind of heavy, right? It was a lot coming out at once. And so again, I went back to, okay, so what do I do? And then it was just baby steps. It was experimenting with exercise and with diet and with what I liked and didn't like, and really recognizing my boundaries with myself and with people around me. And so every day things just progressed one by one. And the next thing I knew, I ended up losing 100 pounds. And initially that's not what I set out to do. I set out to figure out what the hell was wrong with me and why I wasn't happy. But as I found my confidence and as I got happier, I started to experiment. And it turns out I'm not this huge introvert. I like being around people. And I learned that even as a fat person, it was okay for me to be in the gym and to be working out and to figure it out while I was there one step at a time. I realized I enjoyed doing HIIT workouts. I realized I liked jogging. And that was a huge thing for me that let me know that I could achieve anything, because I started jogging. I had plantar fasciitis. I had low back pain, and it was all the result of having no exercise and just treating myself so poorly for so long. But as I went step by step from 20 seconds to 30 seconds to 40 seconds and progressed, my pain, my body pains, they went away, and I continued to transform. And just the internal and external transformation, it all happened simultaneously. And then once I saw my life on the other side of this, and I felt how good I feel now, I was like, okay, more women need to know about this, and more women need to know about their right to feel confident in their bodies and comfortable in their bodies and to love themselves despite what anybody else says or thinks. Every woman deserves to feel this good and to chase after what she wants to do. And so that's why that led me to ultimately quitting my full-time job. I had a 9-to-5. I worked as a law clerk for years, and I was like, no more of this. I have so much more to offer, and I want to support. And it's kind of my mission now to be there to help support as many women as I can to fall in love with their self-worth and have confidence and just appreciate their self-image and feel fully positive about themselves inside and out.
Wow, I had goosebumps all over. Goosebumps all over hearing your story. First, thank you for sharing that. To me, watching you now on social media and speaking with you, I can't even imagine the 29-year-old Kaitlin, right? And that's something you should be, and I know you are, like, so proud of yourself. And it's such an inspiration for anybody else that you're not stuck. There's always a way, and that transformation, I'm sure, brought like its own share of challenges and emotions and, obstacles, but there's another way to live, even if you think that you're stuck in these patterns, these habits, that negative self-talk. So bravo, like, this is a great story. And I'm super happy now that you're using the story and your experience to help other women, right? Like, this is key. It's so needed. There's so much I want to unpack, but let's start with, why do you think, you mentioned society, obviously, there's some childhood stuff, there's the inner child, there's the programming, there's the lack of self-worth, but for yourself and for the women you work with, like, what are the main reasons why we struggle so much with loving ourselves and accepting our bodies and having that optimal self-esteem? Yeah.
For me, so all those internal struggles, that negative self-image, that negative self-worth, looking at myself with shame, for me, that all comes back to society and the idea of appearance. I'm sure I don't know if you've talked about with your audience about diet culture, but diet culture is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And this anti-fat bias that is out there now, it's a very And, because this idea that there's this aesthetic kind of presented that looking good and being beautiful is more important than being healthy and strong and accepting yourself. And so that really gets into women's minds because there are, let's look at the ideal. I mean, from my perspective, it's tall, it's blonde, it's thin, the perfect boobs, the perfect butt, basically that hourglass figure. And how many women in society actually match up? There are women that do, but how many women actually match up to that aesthetic? Not a lot. And so for everyone else, we're kind of on the outside, like, whoa, well, what does that mean if I don't look like that? What does that mean for me? Am I worthy of pursuing my dreams and goals? Am I worthy of believing in myself? Can I pursue big things? I mean, how are things going to turn out for me if I don't look like that? And so women, we turn in on ourselves and we look on ourselves, just assuming that if I don't belong out there, why should I try, kind of, right? And so for me, that is the biggest thing. And I think all of this, the issues that women have with self-worth and confidence, it all goes back to culture and what's presented out there. And that's kind of a big issue too. And it's hard to quickly deep dive into, but you think in terms of time, like the aesthetic body, it kind of changes with time, right? As you go throughout the centuries, the aesthetic has always changed. But the fact is there's always something that's presented. And there are so many people who are outside of that at any point in time. And then it gets hard too when you have different cultures. Now, around the world, there are a lot of people from different areas coming together and moving and relocating. And you have to think of culture as well. What people are learning at home, there are different aesthetics around the world. And maybe what one person is hearing at home, they go out and meet somebody else that doesn't meet that cultural aesthetic. And then they're making assumptions and they're making comments. And then it ricochets, right? And the next person hears that and it's like, well, I'm not good enough either because so-and-so believes this and I don't align with that. It's a really deep-rooted conversation. But there's a lot of outside voice and a lot of outside opinion that just causes us to turn inward and look down on ourselves.
I totally agree. And you're so right about, different cultures or different even phases in time. Like right now, I feel like it's all about the butt and the glutes and
butt and the hips, right?
Right? It's like the tiny waist
and like booty.
But I love that you mentioned that the pattern is always the same, meaning that most of women don't fit in this ideal, whatever that ideal is that year in that culture, which is the big problem. Just having the awareness of that, I think is a first huge step for women to be like, okay, like this is happening. There's a lot going on in the world and the magazines and social media and the health and supplement industry. So I'm just aware that I'm being bombarded by all these things. What's the next step for the woman? Like, what can we do on a day-to-day basis or as our personal growth journey or confidence journey to control and help our self-esteem, knowing that we can't really control the society and the programming and the cultures? Yeah.
It sounds like an easier said than done statement. And in some ways it is, but you have to believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't, nobody else is going to. You can't put yourself down and get stuck and into a state of depression or despondence like I was without suddenly realizing or having the willingness to say, okay, what are the good things about myself? Why do I deserve to not feel this way? Because that's the only way you're going to start rising up.
Absolutely.
So it's really a matter of shutting out those outside opinions as best you can. And one of the best ways to start is to use positive affirmations. I love to tell my clients and people, what are the things you believe about yourself to be true? Whether it's about you physically, because, if you're having a bad body image day and you're feeling upset about your body image, you might not have a lot of positive things to say initially about your body. But what are your skills and abilities? What can you offer the world? What have you achieved to date? Because even though you're so caught up in this negative opinion of yourself, you have, I guarantee you, accomplished a lot. So start writing those things down, start celebrating them, because as soon as you start to see the good things, that's how you start to rise up, and it progresses with time, and you start to see more and more good in yourself. And eventually that reflects in your body. And another thing to do is mirror work. I love using mirror work, just looking at yourself. And instead of seeing all the flaws in your body, pick one or two parts about your body that you love. And I remember I started with not even my physical body parts. I would always comment on my eyes and my legs. I remember people will compliment my legs for whatever reasons. That was one thing that stuck with me. And so I'd be like, yeah, Kaitlin, you have really beautiful eyes today. Like, Kaitlin, your eyes are really sparkling. It's going to be a great day. Wow, you have such nice legs. And then I would keep that in my mind as well. And so it grows, but believing in yourself is the biggest thing that you can do. And you have to remember too, that when anybody gives you a body criticism or makes an opinion, the problem is with them, not you, right? It's never a personal comment made to you. It is proven and that anyone who makes a comment like that, they have their own internal pain or struggle that they're hiding. So they're deflecting to make it look like you have the problem, right? So whatever they're commenting on can be something that they're relating, that's relatable to them, but they don't want to admit. Or they don't even recognize. They just know that they're not completely happy with themselves, but they've yet to identify why they're not happy with themselves. So they continue to project their negativity on other people. So never take it personally when someone makes a comment towards you. And since we know appearance is so prevalent in the media and there's this whole idea of perfectionism, just remember that perfectionism doesn't exist. Perfect is not a real thing, right? No one is ever going to be perfect. So there's no reason to even try to level up with that because you're never going to make progress in improving yourself if you're always striving for perfection. So just always go back to believing in yourself and using positive words about yourself, and it will progress from there.
And you'll start to believe it as well, because even the mirror work, oh, that's a mouthful.
I know.
I'm sure some women are listening to this and like already feel the resistance, like, oh, I don't even look at myself, or there's no way I'm going to be able to find something that I like about my body. So at first it's almost like you said, like either like fake it till you make it. Yeah. Or, or just pick something that's, like you said, your eyes or your hair, or your smile or something small. And the more, energy goes where attention is and vice versa. So the more you focus on these positive affirmations, the more you're going to start to believe them.
Yeah.
And one thing that I love making my clients do is a list of their qualities.
Yes.
And that too can be hard for some women because we're not taught to like celebrate ourselves. And, it's like, no, this person is not humble enough if she thinks that she's whatever, that, like smart or
that's a fear
beautiful
too,
or
right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's our fear of judgment. So it's so important to work through that.
Absolutely. So making that list of your qualities. And then if you struggle with that, ask around, ask your friends. Like you said, people were telling you like, oh, Kaitlin, you have beautiful legs. Maybe at first you didn't really notice that you had beautiful legs, or maybe you didn't believe it, but just having that affirmation coming from somebody else. So your friends, your coworkers, your family, and then, okay, like what are the compliments? What are the qualities that they think that I have? Write that on your list. And then I even go like the next step is find specific example or a proof that you do have these qualities. Yeah. So for example, if your colleague always tells you that, oh, Kaitlin, you're so organized. And in your head, you're like, really organized? Like, I feel like I'm always scattered and all over the place. Yeah. It's like, okay, this person perceives that I'm organized. Write it down and then find in your day-to-day an example like, oh, actually, in my home, I am really organized, like everybody has their clothes, washed and clean, and like I'm organized with the kids' lunches or whatever that is. And then you're proving to yourself that you actually have these qualities. And so anyway, that's something I love doing. And I thought it was a great segue or another example with like the mirror work and the positive affirmations that could be helpful.
I did the same thing with that list idea because it is hard at first, but once you get it, you keep going. And that's why I said it's an easier said than done thing. But yeah, the other thing I say too is to even give compliments, like listen for them, but give them, because just giving compliments, not only are you making someone else's day and you have the power to turn their day from upside down to right side up, but you feel good. You hear the compliment and your brain automatically absorbs that as a compliment to yourself as well, right? So if you walk by someone, especially another female, and you're like, hey, your hair looks absolutely beautiful today, you're going to feel happy. That's going to resonate with you. And so if you can't think of positive things about yourself yet, compliment other people and it's going to start to resonate with you too, and add those things to your list as you go.
I love that. And you mentioned, like believing in yourself is probably the main thing where we want to avoid being consumed or affected by the media, social media, you know, the headlines and the diets and all that. And that's true because if you have self-confidence and you love your body, regardless of what you see, you're just going to be like, okay, I don't look like that, but I don't care. I love my body. So it's not going to affect you. So this is where it becomes so powerful to work on self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where body positivity really comes in, right? Because you want to love your body, but you eventually want to get to the point where you're neutral about your body. So it doesn't even phase you, right? Like you're starting like I was, completely depressed and despondent. And if you're right where I was, you know, you're literally crying, those hyperventilating tears, pulling at your clothes in the mirror because you can't stand how they fit you, how your body's looking through them. They're getting tighter and tighter day by day. And so you're throwing hissy fits and you're completely depressed. So you go from that to like accepting your body and okay, I don't really care. I accept this. This is cool. And today's going to be a good day because I feel good. And if someone doesn't like my role, too bad for them because I'm human and I have roles. That's the way of the body. But then you go from that to starting your day looking in the mirror and it's just more like, okay, I'm dressed, I'm ready to go, I'm going to conquer the day. And your body doesn't even phase you anymore. So you're not having negative or positive emotions in the mirror. You're just going and doing life. And that's the best body positive attitude to have. And I kind of call that the body neutrality phase because that's where you ultimately want to be, where you're not thinking good or bad, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And I think that's a really good thing to be talking about this time of year specifically, because diet culture and all the miracle cures, the fad diets, the extreme exercise programs, all of it is really coming out right now with it being holiday season, right? Yeah. And so December, January, we see and hear it all. And that really makes a lot of women spiral. And, you know, you just see and hear the ads. So just focus on those affirmations.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, you know, like diets and the crazy protocols and killing yourself in the gym and counting your calories, you seem like you didn't go through a very specific diet or intense, and your fat loss journey was more gradual, was more in the gray zone and not like the black and white or the all or nothing approach, which is great. And that's probably why, you know, you've had the internal transformation as well at the same time as your external transformation. What was it that didn't call you to jump on the latest, you know, keto diet or to start a supplement protocol or to sign up and go to the gym 5 hours a day? Like, what was the mindset and the thought process that made you decide to go that route of taking it more slowly and progressively?
A couple different things. Let's see if I can do these without mixing them all up. But the first one is when I was a teenager, actually. So in high school, I think I was about 16 years old. I tried hydroxycut. I'm sure you've heard of hydroxycut, one of those not weight loss, but weight management pills. I tried hydroxycut and that never worked. I tried apple cider vinegar itself and apple cider vinegar pills. That never worked. I tried meal replacement shakes and bars. That never worked. So when I got to this age where I was 29 and 30 years old going through this, I didn't believe in those things anymore. And I was like, this is all money makers. They don't do anything. There's something you need to use consistently and always, and they're just fad things. And I'm like, these aren't going to work. And even if they do work, I don't want to have to pay for them for the rest of my life. Right. Exactly. And so with that, I'm also a very, I guess, stubborn person. I don't like going with the norm, and I never have. And I think that's because of sitting on the outside and feeling left out for so long. I just kind of developed this ethic kind of attitude. I'm going to do me now and I don't care. Yeah. So I wanted to do it my way. I didn't want to jump on a trend. And I had even heard of people doing the trends, the keto and the beach body workouts,
Atkins,
and all the intense stuff.
Protein.
Yeah, the Atkins was huge. Yes, when I was going through this, Atkins was a big one. And I was like, no. And I'm like, how does someone eat that much bacon without getting cholesterol? Like, this doesn't even make sense for me. Like, no. So, and then with that, I knew I wanted something that would last forever. I wanted to change my life, not my body in the moment.
Oh, love this.
So that is what made me, I'm going to do this my way. I don't want to use anything that's out here. This is about me. And so I experimented, and that's something I highly encourage people to do. And I remember people seeing my physical body as I went along. You eventually see the physical changes, right? Mm-hmm. And so you get the comments, what are you doing? You're looking so good. What are you working on? Are you doing this keto? Are you doing Atkins? What, like what program are you on? And I'm like, Kaitlin wants to change her life and do her. Finally, I'm on that program. And so it was experimenting and finding what I liked, both in terms of food, because you have to remember, I fueled my body with fast food, alcohol, sugar, all the bad things for so long. Mm-hmm. That I needed to find the healthier foods that I liked. And so I experimented. I wasn't about to put into my diet anything that I didn't like. And so I experimented with my food. I found recipes that I enjoyed. And so that progressed. And then same with exercise. Like I was saying earlier, I started with 20-second jogs because that's all I was able to do. And that just started progressing. And I found out the exercises I like doing at the gym. I learned that I don't like aerobics. I get bored doing repetitive movements. Mm-hmm. So running was okay outside, but I didn't want to go to an aerobics class. I learned that I liked HIIT workouts. I came across Betty Rocker, who's a huge fitness coach in the US. And I signed up for her 30-day challenge. And that made me learn that I love HIIT workouts. They're easy and convenient, and I can do them on my time. So I did that. I learned that I enjoy playing tennis. So I started doing that. So just experiment and do what pleases you. Because if you're doing what pleases you, that's only going to add to that feel-good endorphins that you want to get in your body. And it's going to help you believe in what you're capable of. Because if you do something that you don't enjoy, you're going to hate it. And it's going to make you feel crap, right? Like you're not going to want to keep doing it or feel good about yourself. So just do what you enjoy and make the process about you at the end of the day, because that's how it's going to last long term, because you're going to keep doing it and growing on it and expanding on it. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want growth. You want transformation. You want change. Right. So that's what I did. I was this little go-getter. I don't care what anyone says. And it worked. So again, believe in yourself and be true to you, because look what happens.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm hearing you talk, and like, there's the word consistency, which is a word that's not very sexy, but I always put forward in my coaching because we want to be doing stuff consistently, not perfectly, consistently. To keep the results in the long term and to have this become your new norm, your new lifestyle. Absolutely. Did you struggle with consistency at all, or lack of motivation? Was there like any periods that even though you were doing stuff that you loved, even though you had that stubborn mindset and that you took the one step at a time approach, were there any moments that you lacked consistency or the motivation was nowhere to be found and you had some moments that you wanted to quit or stop or go back to like the alcohol and the junk food? And
yeah, absolutely. Like anything else in life, that's a change. Your mind doesn't want to change, right? You have to reprogram your mind to change. I know that damn ego wants what it wants. And so you really kind of have to battle with that. But there were a lot of times where trying to reprogram my mind to say, no, we need to do this. We want to do this because this is how we're going to feel after. But there were a lot of times that ego won, and it was like, nope, I just want to sit on the couch today. I'm going to buy a bag of gummy bears. I'm going to that McDonald's drive-through, and I just want to feel good. And so that happened often. But I noticed, because my food, it was a coping thing for me, right? And so it was used a lot to cope with stressors, or when I was feeling down, or when something bad happened at work, or something happened with the family, whatever. And so at the time, because I was feeling so bad about myself and I wanted to feel happy, obviously I kept eating. So when stressors would come along, those would be moments where I'd really want to not keep going. I wanted to give up. But it was just a matter of talking to myself and reminding myself of what was on the other side if I kept going. And this happened more so at the beginning, right? Your body's getting rid of all the toxic from all the sugar, all the alcohol. It's releasing everything from your body. So you want it, you crave it still, right?
Yeah.
But as I kept going, and even if I would slip once in a while, even throughout, but it was worse at the beginning. But as I kept going, this happened less and less. And that's that idea of consistency. Any change that you make that you want to last long term, it's about progress, not perfection. Yes. So if you have a setback, it's okay. We're human. It's going to happen. Not every day is perfect, but it's about getting back up, picking yourself back up and keep going. Take the next step or redo the previous step, whatever you have to do. But yeah, and it's all mindset. And that's why I did the vision board. And I love that I had the vision board, because when this would happen, I literally had it in my kitchen, because that was the big problem area for me, right? Was food in the kitchen. So I had it there, and I had all these bright Post-its and all these reminders for myself. And I would literally go stand in front of my vision board and remind myself why I wanted to do this. And again, what was on the other side for me. So it's good to have those visuals in place as well.
Yeah, constant reminders of why we're doing this, I think, is key, especially when it gets hard and when there's an emotion or when there's a trigger, that almost drives us to go back to our bad habits.
And it's easy to slip. And that's why you have to just keep picking yourself back up. Have that fight with yourself, just like you'd have an argument or a debate with someone, have that healthy conversation with your ego. Like, no, devil, Kaitlin, you don't get this, but I want this. No, because this is going to lead to X, Y, and Z, and we're done with X, Y, and Z. Like, get mad at yourself and then go do something that picks you up.
Yeah, exactly. What's your relationship right now with alcohol or junk food? Or do you allow yourself to have what I call different foods? Because I don't like to use the word cheat meals or cheat foods.
Thank you.
Do you allow yourself to indulge or have a 10 or 20% during your week that's different from your optimal habits?
Yes, I believe in I don't even know if balance is the right word, because I'm very much, I guess the new term is intuitive eater. I don't know if I agree with that term either, because naturally eating is something humans have always done. You're hungry, you eat. You're not hungry, you don't eat. But it's been phrased as intuitive eating. But yes, I am still 100% a fan of gummy bears. I just don't ravage on them every single night and blow my paychecks on them like before. But yes, I do still allow myself gummy bears. My other favorite is pizza. That is one of the things I will have every couple of weeks. I absolutely love pizza. And alcohol, yes, I do still have. I was drinking quite heavily, and it's something that I needed at that point in my mid-20s to make me feel confident. So that was the phase where I was in university. I was going to the bars, and I didn't know how to talk to people. I was so if I got drunk, that brought out my confidence, and I was more flirtatious and I had more fun. So I started drinking quite heavily, because like food, that made me happy in those moments, in those social situations. But I now use alcohol kind of, I guess, in a celebratory way. If I'm socializing with friends, it's now a positive for me. Like, let's toast to this success, or let's enjoy someone's birthday. Or now that it's Christmas, I love to have wine and charcuterie. That's a tradition that I have with my family this time of year. So yeah, I do use it in a healthy way. I don't think there's any need, and never on my journey, I should make that clear too, I never gave up anything. I just reduced the amount of all of it. I don't believe in having to ever fully give up and sacrifice something that you enjoy, even if that includes food. So yeah, I still enjoy it all, just in a healthier, more positive way.
Yeah, I love it. That's the approach I have for myself after having myself as well, like eating disorders, and then that I do with my clients. And you're just a testament that it's possible to lose 100 pounds and keep it off and still enjoy, like the gummy bears or whatever your thing is. For me, it's popcorn and like cookies, like chocolate chip cookies.
Also good. Yes, cookies are delicious.
Yeah, but again, just going back to that gray zone, that balance, that 80-20 rule, like it is possible, and it's so much 100%. More enjoyable. So much more enjoyable, to not be in restriction mode all the time. So
no one should be restricting or sacrificing or missing out on at all. No one deserves that. You deserve that as much as you deserve to not feel good about yourself. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. You mentioned the internal transformation as well. We said mindset is everything, probably 10 times on this podcast already.
Yes.
We talked about self-confidence. Like, what are some key habits or maybe some work that you had to do? I don't know if you mentioned that you spoke with someone. I don't know if that was a therapist or a coach, but what did you do specifically to help with that internal transformation and the emotional part? And
yeah, So I was actually a counselor at the time because I had just finished university. So I had coverage for counseling through the law firm I was working with at the time. So I went and talked to a counselor. And that's how I started. And they introduced me to the idea of limiting beliefs, which is all those negative thoughts that we have inside. And the ironic thing about limiting beliefs is that we're not born with them. They're not our thoughts. And so they led me to this idea that all of these negative thoughts that I had in my head, they weren't my thoughts. They weren't from little Kaitlin or grown Kaitlin. They were from the outside world, right? And so once you know that, it makes you that much more ambitious to want to draw them out of you. Like, get out of me. You're not my thoughts. I don't think this way. No, I don't need these. So once I learned what that was, I really worked with that. And that's where the positive affirmations came in, and talking myself up and literally leaving a list on the mirror. Like, I would start with like one or two because it was hard in the beginning. But eventually my list grew. So I had a piece of paper and I would look at it in the bathroom mirror every day. And as I was getting ready for work, you have beautiful eyes, you have gorgeous red hair, your body is strong and healthy, and you're fueling yourself with all these good things. And, my list just grew. And so the biggest thing for mindset, I think, is learning what limiting beliefs are, which is what we think we both work through with our clients. And then just replacing those with the positive things, because like we've said a million times, mindset is everything. And you can't have a transformation without a positive mindset. And a positive mindset comes from believing in yourself and flushing out the bad. And yeah, things are still going to happen in life where you are going to feel bad about yourself. But again, it's how you pick yourself up and turn that around and immediately think in the positive instead.
Yeah, that's a habit, and always like comparing to like an actual workout. Like, you go to the gym or you train at home to train your muscles, like your physical body. Yeah. You don't just do it once and then you're like, cool, I'm in shape and I'm fit for the rest of my life. Like, it's the consistency that will keep your body healthy and fit and strong, and all that. It's the same with the mindset. Like, what are you doing as a mindset workout weekly to make sure that your brain and your mind and your thoughts, they remain positive, and that you're able to coach yourself and to switch the negative patterns or negative thoughts or the limiting beliefs into something that's more positive or serving you. Yeah. It's the same concept. You got to work on that. You got to be aware of it. You got to use the list or the journaling or the meditation or the affirmations. Yeah. So,
and another thing I did that really helped me, that I sometimes recommend to my clients too, when I had that vision board, I actually set goals for myself. So I would set bi-weekly and monthly and annual goals. And every time I hit one of these goals, I would treat myself with something. So whether it was a bag of gummy bears or going out to get my nails done or getting my hair cut, or going to buy a new top or new pair of pants, pulling out something from my clothes box of the stuff that used to fit me before that I held on to that I could fit into again, anything that made me feel good. Because as I achieved those goals and got to reward myself, it was like mini celebrations. And so when you celebrate yourself, it helps to make you feel good and stay in that positive state. And so as you're seeing the physical changes in the progression, you're also feeling it and like, hey, I get to go reward myself with this and celebrate what I've accomplished. And then you write that down. This is what I've done for myself. And so you take that into the next day and the next week. And so every 2 weeks, I was just constantly congratulating myself and celebrating something I've done. And I think as women, that's something in general, whether it's with your body or not, we don't do that enough, because we get so caught up on taking care of everyone and everything else and worrying about our careers and this and that we don't take time to celebrate what we've accomplished. And that kind of comes back to having that negative body image, because if you're not celebrating anything in your life, it's really hard to connect positively internally or externally. So for anyone out there listening, if you got anything from that, just always celebrate your wins, no matter how big or small, because they happen for a reason and you deserve celebrating them. You are worthy of whatever happened. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a miracle. It's something good that happened with you and for you. So take it and love it and embrace it. I'm happy for it.
Yes, I love it. You did a couple posts that really resonated with me, because I was like, I don't feel a lot of people talk about it this way. And the confidence with your partner, the confidence in your bedroom, the confidence showing up.
My Allure program.
Yeah, yes. Showing up like naked in front of yourself and your partner, whatever floats your boat. So why do you think it's important to chat about that and, bring that into awareness?
First, because that's something that was hard for me when I was plus size. It's very hard. It's if you don't have confidence, the thought of somebody seeing your body naked when you don't love your own naked body, that is like anxiety riding for a lot of women. And it ruins your sexual relationships, your intimacy, all the things. And it makes you feel like you can't date or you don't deserve to date or your spouse doesn't love you anymore. And it ricochets and spirals into all these negative situations that don't exist, but you're creating them in your mind, right? And so because I experienced it and because I think, I'm just going to say sex is a very taboo topic. Yeah. We don't talk about it enough, right? And I think women, for centuries, it's always been men can do it and get glorified for it. But if a woman mentions it, there's those negative connotations, those negative words that are attached to her. And I think it's very appropriate and important to talk about sex because that is affected by body image and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So I created this Allure program for women who specifically, we don't necessarily have to go back and deep dive through all the limiting beliefs because it's literally just looking at their physical body and not having a positive relationship with their physical body. And so I want women to know that there is a way to love what you see, to take away the flaws, to stop seeing your body as a problem and find romance and passion in your body, because then that is going to transfer over to your romantic relationships and you're not going to be hiding anymore in the dark, wanting to keep your bra on, wanting to keep a maxi dress on. You're going to be free and comfortable exposing yourself and not care what they think. And I think what we often forget is that when a man is choosing to get intimate with us or our partner, whether it's male or female, I should say, they don't have a problem with our body. I mean, there's that odd time if you're just having a random hookup. I don't know. But in the sense of having general relationships, the other person doesn't have a problem with our body. It's all in our mind. And then that transfers into that intimate relationship. Yes. So I have no problem. And again, that's me not being afraid to go against the norm and just do Kaitlin. And no, sex is important. Intimate relationships are important. And every woman deserves to have intimacy in her life. And that begins and improves with loving the body and seeing your body naked. So I call the program Allure, and it's about embracing naked because that changes everything. And that adds to your confidence too, right?
For sure.
It transfers to other areas of your life.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for bringing that conversation forward. You're right. We don't talk about it enough. And there's a lot of taboo. There's a lot of limiting beliefs. There's a lot of cultural and societal, programming. So yeah, I'm going to encourage all women who are listening to us to go follow you and check out that program.
Thank you.
You also have a webinar coming up. So I want everybody to go sign up. Tell us more. What is this webinar about? When is it? How is it going to work? Who is it for?
Yeah. Okay. So my first webinar, it is called the Body Image Paradigm. And it's actually about breaking free from the body image paradigm. So basically what this is, it's a term I've structured for the cycle that we all end up in as women, this pattern of behavior where we have a problem and we see this problem and it leads to having emotions. And so we go to our solution, which is our coping strategy, right? Which usually goes to food or alcohol or something like that. So it's our behavior. And then we meet this bottomless pit where we're feeling bad because we've just gone to this coping mechanism and now we're mad at ourselves for having done that, right? So we go through all the self-loathing, all the shame and guilt and all those negative feelings. But then we're like, okay, we're over it. Today's a new day. We're going to start over. We're going to feel really good. We're going to go get in that workout. We're going to do our affirmations, our meditation. We're going to eat really good. And that lasts for a bit. And behold, here we are back at facing another problem. Yeah. And this paradigm happens because we don't actually address the actual problem. What is causing us to cope? What is causing us to feel like shit? And what is causing us to just keep going in this spiral? So this webinar is taking place on January 18th. I think that's the Thursday. I keep mixing up the 18th and 19th. That Thursday in January.
So it's the 19th.
The 19th. Okay. So yes. Thursday, January 19th. Thank you for that. So this webinar, it's huge for any women who are stuck in this cycle because you're never going to get out of it unless you tune in and learn why and how you can get out of it and how I can help you to get out of it, because it's all about identifying your problem to get to the solution. And from the solution, that's where you transform your life and you make the lifestyle consistent, long changes.
Mm-hmm. And you get out of that cycle.
You get out of the cycle. It's a thing of the past. And that's why I call it the body image cycle, like breakthrough, because you're getting rid of it. You're not going back into that cycle. And so I think this is a huge one just to help women move forward and transform their lives, because it's not going to happen any other way. Mm-hmm. And I went from the cycle. I'm proof, right? That it's possible to get out of the cycle. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's my first time doing this topic.
It's going to be amazing. We hear your passion through your words, so that's awesome.
Like, I've designed this. Come and learn.
So it's free. It's online.
It's free. It's online. I think we can share a link. I have a link for you to register. All you have to do is submit your name and email. And then with that, you will get access to the webinar. You'll get access to a replay if you can't happen to make the live. And then you're going to get a little guidebook, a little workbook as well to have for the webinar and then to use after as well. So yeah, just one link, a few questions, and then you have everything. You'll be all set and you'll be reminded of when it's taking place as well.
Amazing. I would put all of that in the show notes, as well as your Instagram page as well, so people can go follow you. Anything else that we can support you with or that you want to share?
I think that's it for now. I think I just really want to encourage women to just always believe in themselves, stay true to who you are. You know, when a negative thought is coming in, remember it's not you. That's from something you've heard from somewhere or someone on the outside. And you don't deserve to believe that thought if it doesn't resonate with you positively. So just replace it and you're beautiful. No matter what you think, what you hear, you are beautiful. Own that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Before I ask the final question, same question that I asked to all my guests, I just want to say thank you again, Kaitlin. I acknowledge you for your journey, your passion, what you do to help women, inspire them. It's an honor to have you on the show. I think it's a very valuable topic, and I'm sure my listeners are going to really benefit from our conversation today. So thank you again.
I hope so. Thank you so much. That's all I want. To resonate and to feel it and be like, yes, I get her. I get that. I want to try this.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. And my final question is, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh, Lord. I wasn't expecting that one.
That's the whole point of this question. It puts everybody on the spot, and then it's the first quote that comes to mind, and it's usually always very valuable.
Oh, Lord, I have so many quotes. Oh, my goodness.
Well, me too. I love quotes. So that's why I ask this question at the end of every episode. Because
there's one that's actually been on my mind the last couple of days. It's actually a lyric from a rap song I was listening to. But mine are usually more positive, but this one's more inquisitive. And I think I want to make this like a social engagement kind of post. But it's everybody dies, but not everybody lives. Because I think that really reflects back on the beginning of my story and where I could still be. So I think that's just a very deep quote, and I'm curious to get other people's perceptions on it and how deeply that resonates with them. So I think let's go with that quote for now, because I have so many. I can't pinpoint one. I feel overwhelmed.
That's perfect. And if anybody listening, we want to hear, if you have any questions, if you want to share what that quote resonates or not, feel free to message us, tag us on Instagram, and let's live a beautiful life where we believe in ourselves.
Yes, where we believe in ourselves. Yes, we have confidence. We know we're worthy.
Yes, thank you, Kaitlin.
Thank you. Bye.
J'espère que cette conversation awesome t'a inspiré. Et d'ailleurs, I would love to hear back from you. Rejoins Karmakin sur les réseaux sociaux and tag me in a post pour partager ce que tu retiens de cet épisode. Je serais vraiment grateful aussi si tu pouvais me laisser un rating and review pour le podcast. Ça me permet d'avoir un impact positif sur plus de gens comme toi. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été à l'écoute, and until next time, je te souhaite une journée awesome.